Although I will admit I never fully understood the tone of that show. I don't think I ever loved it as much as everybody else loved it.
It was supposed to be America's happiest town, but behind the camera, it was anything but. To millions of Americans, The Andy Griffith Show was the ultimate comfort food. Warm, simple, safe. You flipped on the TV and were instantly taken to Mayberry, a place with no real crime, no chaos, just fishing poles, fried chicken, and folksy charm. But here's the truth they never told you. That sunny little town was a front, a perfectly staged illusion. Behind the soft southern drawls and polite smiles were feuds, grudges, and ice-cold silence that made the set more tense than a courtroom. The show's sweet exterior hid some very real bitterness, so real in fact it nearly broke the cast apart. At the center of it all, a legendary actress, an old-school TV queen, and the woman Ron Howard never forgot, for all the wrong reasons. What audiences saw was a loving aunt. What Ron felt was something far darker. Ron Howard's childhood trap. She smiled on-screen, but off-screen, she wouldn't even look him in the eye. Ron Howard was just a kid when he stepped into Mayberry. America adored him, freckled, red-haired, polite little Opie, the perfect child actor. But what no one saw was what happened between takes. Frances Bavier, better known as Aunt B, wasn't the grandmotherly figure fans imagined. To Ron, she was distant, cold, and completely uninterested in making him feel welcome. She never offered him warmth, never treated him like the adored kid America saw. In fact, some say she didn't even like kids. Imagine being 6 years old, stepping onto a big Hollywood set, surrounded by grown-ups, and one of your biggest scene partners won't even acknowledge you unless the cameras are rolling. That wasn't acting for Ron. That was survival. And there's one moment that still haunts him, the infamous pickle episode, a lighthearted fan favorite where Opie has to eat jars of Aunt B's disgusting homemade pickles. People laughed, critics loved it, but for Ron, pure misery. He hated pickles, couldn't stand the smell, let alone the taste, but take after take, he had to force them down, gagging between shots, trying not to cry. And who sat across from him the entire time? Frances Bavier, silent, stone-faced, no empathy, no comfort, just another scene to get through. That day, the tension between them was so thick you could taste it, and it wasn't the pickles. Ron never spoke about it publicly as a kid. What could he say? He was a child, but the memories stuck. That coldness stayed with him long after the cameras stopped rolling. And decades later, when he encountered another person who wore a friendly mask but betrayed his trust,
but the silence,
all of that old pain came rushing back. Frances Bavier was a legend, a classically trained actress, a TV matriarch, but behind the scenes, she was not the sweet apron-wearing Aunt B you remember. She was sharp, unforgiving, and terrifying in her stillness. Ask anyone from the crew, they'll tell you. People tiptoed around Frances. Even the directors. Especially the directors. Howard Morris, who played the wild, chaotic Ernest T. Bass and directed several episodes, once said that giving Bavier simple direction, like asking her to move a few inches for better framing, was like navigating a landmine. One wrong word, and the atmosphere on set could turn from light-hearted to ice-cold in seconds. She didn't scream, she didn't argue, she just froze you out, with a look, a tone, or worse, complete indifference. And for a child like Ron Howard, that was devastating. You could feel it, the chill she carried with her into every scene. The way she kept everyone at arm's length, never letting her guard down, never breaking the illusion that she was in control. This wasn't about diva behavior. It was something deeper. Frances Bavier had walls, thick ones, and nobody, not even Andy Griffith, could climb over them. But Andy tried. He knocked on her door with hope. She answered with fury. Andy Griffith wasn't just the star of the show. He was its heart. Warm, generous, and known for lifting the mood on set. But even he couldn't crack the shell that Frances Bavière had built around herself. Long after the show ended, Andy did something nobody expected. He showed up at Bavière's house. No cameras, no script, just a man hoping to make peace. She opened the door and shut it again, on him, just like that. Whatever pain she was carrying, whatever anger she had buried, it was still there, still raw. The visit didn't heal anything. It only deepened the divide. Even years later, Andy would talk about that moment with sadness in his voice. Because he wanted to forgive her. He wanted to reconnect. But she wasn't ready. Not then. It wasn't until she was dying, frail, battling cancer, and staring down the end of her life, that something shifted. She picked up the phone, called Andy, and for the first time, she let go. She apologized. "I'm sorry we didn't get along better," she told him. "It was my fault." After decades of silence, Frances Bavière admitted what everyone had felt, but no one had said out loud. She had been difficult, cold, distant, and she regretted it. Andy accepted the apology, because that's who he was. But Ron? He never really got that phone call. He left Mayberry, but Mayberry never left him.
When the Andy Griffith Show ended, Ron Howard didn't just walk away from his childhood. He sprinted. By 20, he'd already starred in Happy Days as the all-American Richie Cunningham, balancing sitcom fame with a burning desire to be more than just the nice guy with freckles. But here's the part no one talks about. Even while America was laughing with Richie, Ron was obsessively watching everything happening behind the camera. Blocking, lighting, directing. He wasn't just acting, he was studying, quietly building the skills that would make him one of the most trusted filmmakers in Hollywood.
His big break came in the most Ron Howard way possible, a handshake deal with cult movie legend Roger Corman. Corman said, "I'll let you direct a movie if you star in one of mine first." Ron agreed. He acted in Eat My Dust, then turned around and directed Grand Theft Auto, a gritty, low-budget car chase comedy that proved one thing loud and clear. He wasn't a child actor anymore. He was a storyteller with a mission.
From there, it snowballed. Splash with Tom Hanks, Apollo 13, Parenthood, Cinderella Man, The Grinch. But it wasn't until A Beautiful Mind that Ron truly proved what he was made of. The film swept the Oscars, Best Picture, Best Director, applause, glory, and for once, everyone agreed. He wasn't just good for a kid actor, he was great, period.
But with success came pressure, and with pressure came his next big risk. A film about another misunderstood man. A man Ron believed in, trusted, until that trust was shattered again.
He thought he was helping tell a story. What he got was a front row seat to a transformation he couldn't believe.
In 2020, Ron Howard directed Hillbilly Elegy, the film adaptation of J.D. Vance's best-selling memoir. The book was raw, emotional, about growing up poor in Appalachia. No politics, just pain, struggle, grit. It spoke to Ron. He'd always been drawn to underdog stories, and he believed Vance's voice mattered. But fast forward a few years, and Vance wasn't the same man. Suddenly, the once vulnerable author was in the headlines again. Not for his book, but for his political rise. And the man who once talked about addiction, trauma, and resilience was now preaching division, power, and rage. Ron didn't lash out. He didn't tweet. He didn't explode in interviews. That's not his way. But if you listened closely, you could hear it. The disappointment, the sting. He had tried to help someone tell their story, to give them dignity, to show the world their humanity. And instead, that person became something unrecognizable, something Ron couldn't support, couldn't stand behind. Sound familiar?
It was the same betrayal he felt years ago with Frances Bavière. That disconnect between the person the public sees and the one you really know. But in a world full of masks, he found one person who never wore one. While Hollywood spun with chaos, betrayal, and fake smiles, Ron Howard quietly built something almost unheard of, a real life. He met Cheryl when he was 16, a quiet girl, strong, sharp, no spotlight needed. Their first date? A movie, pizza, and a beat-up mint green Volkswagen Bug. That car still runs. So do they. They got married young. No scandals, no PR stunts. Just two people paddling together year after year through smooth water and rapids. In June 2025, they hit 50 years of marriage. 50. When asked the secret, Ron said, "We just kept paddling." That's who Ron is. No drama, no tantrums, just quiet resilience. When the world lets him down, he doesn't break. He builds. And through it all, child stardom, Hollywood politics, Oscar wins, private heartbreaks, Cheryl was his anchor. The person smiling at you might not be who you think they are. Ron Howard's life has been filled with masks. Some wore aprons, some wrote memoirs, some stood next to him on set, smiling through gritted teeth. And he's learned something most people never do. Trust is earned quietly. Betrayal leaves echoes, and silence? Sometimes it says more than words ever could. Ron doesn't scream his truths. He doesn't throw blame. But when he speaks, you listen. Because the stories we believe shape the headlines we wake up to. They shape us. So if someone as kind, careful, and hopeful as Ron Howard can be burned not once, but twice, maybe we all need to start watching a little closer. Not just the screen, but the people behind it. Think you know what really went down on Happy Days? Think again. And hey, if this changed how you see Aunt B or JD Vance, hit that like button, drop a comment, and don't forget to subscribe. Because the truth, it's always messier than the script.